pick the winner who has logged the most miles walking or done the most exercise, and give some incentives. And I'm very glad, because when we hand out, we find that regularly you have residents, elderly residents in Bishan and Toa Payoh who have clocked more than 1 million steps within 3 months. That means that they do 10,000 steps at least every day. So that's a start. It won't be, you'll have to continue to emphasize it, because each year I grow old, my colleagues grow old, our residents also grow old, right? The problem doesn't get younger, in other words. And we know that we have a new division in Potong Pasir that we brought into Bishan-Toa Payoh. We are going to build the elderly fitness stations there, and we'll look to refresh some of these elderly fitness stations. So that's the overall approach. That's trying to understand the problem and deal with it in practical ways, so that, you know, our residents can age gracefully and healthily. And I'm sure that my other colleagues will have other details to talk about.
So maybe I could add on to what Dr. Ng have shared. You know, we think about our various programs, our facilities, using the philosophy that put ourselves in the shoes of our seniors. How would we want to live a healthy, active life? How do we want to keep in touch with our friends, our neighbors? What is it that we can do to allow our seniors to do that? So for my volunteers and I, we worked with students from our nearby schools. We wrote them in, and we got them to really walk around, to do town audits, to see which parts of our town the infrastructure needs to be enhanced, to make it more accessible, more convenient, safer for our seniors. Because sometimes when, you know, we are not in their position, we may not realize that, you know, there's a curb here, there are a flight of stairs here, that, you know, for younger residents, that may not be a big problem. But if you are older, and especially if you're in a wheelchair, it does make it difficult for you to get around. So town audits, from the perspective of our seniors, and allow us to see where are the areas of improvement that we can do to our infrastructure, to our facilities.
Another thing that we have shaped in terms of a program for at Toa Payoh East is the 10 Hot Meals, Toa Payoh's Novena Hot Meals program. It's actually was shaped because of some of my visits in Toa Payoh, when we met some of our elderly who are staying in the 2-room and 3-room flats, and they are staying alone with no family support. And we realize it's actually, and in addition to what Minister mentioned as well, the mental health of our elderly is very important. To ask them to come down to the Lorong 7 market and to actually eat hot food. And what we've done, and I mentioned earlier during my introduction, on the first day, that the community spirit, the strong community spirit in Toa Payoh and Bishan is strong, sense of community. And we actually partnered with close to about 11 to 12 stalls now in the Lorong 7 hawkers market to work together to provide hot meals for our elderly, our single elderly or lonely elderly in the blocks to come down and eat hot food. And these are donated by individuals in the community as well. So it shows a strong community spirit to help some of our old, single elderly with no family support to come down to the market. At the same time, mingle with other elderly and our partners in the hawker stalls as well. So I just want to highlight this point about the strong community spirit that we can continue to support and enhance even further to help our vulnerable elderly in Toa Payoh East.
Let me just add just 2 more points to what my colleagues have said. And Cheong Tat talked about mental health. Chong Keong spoke about falls. And, the whole science of taking care of the elderly called geriatric medicine. There's, as you know, I was a doctor before, but I've been watching the developments. And as Singapore is not the only aging population. I mean, you have many, many countries, for example, Europe. And you have now the need for specialists who focus mainly on aging issues. And these 2 issues that my colleagues have brought up, mental health and falls are very important aspects of taking care of the elderly. So if you talk about mental health, Alzheimer's or dementia, it's not a small problem anymore. I talked about the figures. We have 190,000 in Bishan-Toa Payoh and Marymount. 70,000 will be above 60 in 2030, based on the estimates. Just from Bishan-Toa Payoh and Marymount, by 2030, we'll have 7,000 residents with dementia. It's not a small problem. And it's a different kind of problem because some of them will be active. And the question is, what are you going to do? Are you just going to keep them at home? You can't lock them up. They can are physically mobile. So that's another dimension that we have to deal with. Mr. Chong spoke about falls, and he's absolutely correct. In fact, many studies now show that when the elderly fall, it's very different from when younger people fall. One, when they fall, it's as if it becomes almost like the last straw. Because they can't move after that, they lose muscle tone, then they get pneumonia. And some studies show that before they pass away, 50% can have falls. Notice that's the event. I know for Chinese we say, don't talk about these things, dementia, falling, Hokkien says sway, but you have to start talking about it. The problem is just too large. If you pretend that it doesn't exist, you can't prepare for it. So these falls can lead to very serious events. Now, it's strange when I say this next statement, but it's true. We don't know how to fall. Because all of us, I can assure you, when from young, when we fall, the first thing we do is we'll stretch out our hand, right? You stretch out your hand. And if you talk to aunties, uncles, when you grow older, you lose the bone density. And it's so common that they will fracture their wrist bone, or they will fall and they will trip and they will still fracture the big bones in their lower limbs. And as I said, this is a science. In fact, Scandinavian countries, either in Holland or in Denmark, have taken it so seriously that they have rolled out programs for the entire elderly population to teach them how to fall. And we rolled out a program in Bishan-Toa Payoh. And actually, for the elderly, when you fall, the right thing to do is to roll. You allow your big parts of your body to absorb the shock and not to stretch out your limbs. That's very unnatural because we will always try to stop. But you teach you to roll, and that has been shown to reduce fractures. And fractures is a serious condition in the elderly. So we started to roll that out, involve groups, push it out to residents. And so I think what my colleagues and I are saying, you've got to deal with this issue head on. You can't pretend it's not going to exist or that every family can take care of themselves. They can't. It's just too large a problem. And you have to start putting in the infrastructure to make sure that our elderly residents in Bishan and Toa Payoh can age well.
Thanks for sharing such comprehensive and thoughtful program for the elderly. If I may now turn to Mr. Chi. How is the government helping mid-career and mature workers to upskill and find employment?
Yeah, this is a very important topic, Sylvia. Jobs is our top priority, especially in the current environment when the economy is not doing so well. And for the next few months, we must expect that there will be more companies that will face difficulties. More people may get retrenched. So this is going to affect mature workers, it's going to affect mid-career workers, it's also going to affect our young graduates. So jobs will be our priority. Not just for Bishan-Toa Payoh, but for the government, for the whole country. Now for Bishan-Toa Payoh, we are going to work with Workforce Singapore, WSG, to set up 2 SG United Jobs and Skills Centre, one in Bishan and one in Toa Payoh. There's already a E2I center in Toa Payoh today, a HDB hub, 7th floor. And my colleagues and I would refer residents to E2I to assist them with job matching. So this morning I received an email from E2I on some of the cases that I had referred to them earlier, and quite a number of them have found jobs. Some on their own, some through E2I, some after getting some training. So this is something that we have to do both at the policy level. We need to have the right policies, we need to have the right systems in place, but also very much at the retail level, at the local level. That last mile is important. How do you reach out to the individual? Encourage him or her not to lose hope, to encourage that person to go for training, because there may be some gaps in the skill sets that the person need to address in order to be able to assess some of the new jobs that are being created, to be able to switch from one industry to another industry. Some industries, unfortunately with COVID, are badly hit. If you are in aviation-related sectors, hospitality, you depend on tourists as your customers. If you're in retail and F&B, we used to have 18 million tourist arrivals a year. But now with COVID, that number has dropped to really very low because we have very few visitors now who are able to come in. We can promote staycations. We are trying to do that. One of my portfolios in MTI is tourism. But it is not possible to completely make up for the loss of 18 million tourist arrivals. So there will be an impact on some of our companies. And after the immediate impact, there will be a second order impact because their suppliers will be affected, their contractors will be affected, their employees will be affected. So I think this is something which is a serious situation for Singapore in the months ahead. And that's why we set up the National Jobs Council to prepare ahead of time, to flatten the unemployment curve before we see significant rises in retrenchments. We need to start preparing now. We need to create the jobs now. We need to bring in our tripartite partners, create jobs, both permanent positions as well as some temporary positions, including those that are needed to fight COVID. Ministry of Health, for example, is looking at hiring swabbers to help with the testing. We need 5,700 swabbers in total. We also need safe distancing ambassadors to help us to manage different places, to be safe. We also need people to assist in many different roles to fight COVID. But there are also permanent positions that are being created. Healthcare, early childhood education, IT sectors, financial sectors, there are still some growth sectors. So if you look at it overall, the economy is going to be quite uneven. There will be some sectors that are badly hit, some sectors that are still going to grow. How do we help workers who need to move from one sector, transit to another sector, to be able to assess the new jobs that are being created in the growth sectors? Training and skills future will be very important. So we are going to step up on skills future, job matching, job placement. We have earlier this year increased the support for skills future, what we call the next bound of skills future. And this is the area that I help look after in the Ministry of Education. We give additional top-up, $500 skills futures credit to all Singaporeans aged 25 and above. For those who are in their 40s and 50s, they get an additional 500. So if you include the original 500, an individual could get up to 1,500 in terms of skills futures credit. And this can then be used to pay for the out-of-pocket expenses after subsidies have been applied, to encourage individuals to go for training, to be able to remain employable, to have skills that are relevant to some of the new industries and new jobs that are being created. I think a very important success factor will be our tripartite partnership and the trust that we have built up between employers, unions, and government. This is one of the key assets in Singapore. If you look at how we are responding to this crisis, the reason why we are able to move faster, the reason why we are able to make some of these changes, why we are able to rally our partners together in a very quick time, is because we have already built up a lot of trust over the years through a lot of investments in our tripartite partnership. It cannot be done overnight. But if you're in a situation where you need to start building these links and the crisis is now upon us, it's too late. We have been building this over the decades, and now we are using this strong tripartite partnership to help us to fight this crisis that we are facing, and to help our people to be able to train, to get new skills, to be able to create new jobs, and to be able to place our people in these new jobs and traineeship positions. So this is something which we will have to press on both at the national level and also at the local level. And we will work with the government agencies, we will work with our partners, our tripartite partners, to ramp up the efforts so that we help our residents. If you are looking for a job and you need help, come to these centers and we will do our best to help you.
Thank you, Mr. Chi, for sharing. We have, what about, yeah.
In Malay.
Yes.
Apa yang Cik SMS Cik Hon Tak telah mengatakan tentang pekerjaan itu amat penting. Pekerjaan. Terutama sekali dalam situasi sekarang yang kita hadapi. Tapi dari segi pemerintah, banyak pertolongan yang Cik Hon Tak telah katakan, jadi job center di setara seluruh Singapura, ada ramai pertolongan, banyak pertolongan yang akan dikelolakan. Tetapi dari segi lokal, umpamanya di Bishan-Toa Payoh GRC di Toa Payoh, kita telah melancarkan umpamanya app cari kerja atau find jobs app, kios, dan juga di app aplikasi boleh dimuat turunkan untuk mencari pekerjaan, dan app itu berada dalam bahasa Melayu. Jadi pernah ada beberapa instance individu mendapat pekerjaan di dalam masa 1-2 minggu sahaja umpamanya. Jadi turunkan app cari kerja ini jika anda memerlukan mencari pekerjaan dan sedang mencari pekerjaan di dalam minggu-minggu yang akan datang. Tengok apakah pekerjaan yang akan ada. Selain itu juga, firma-firma yang juga ingin mencari pekerja boleh datang mencari, sama ada mahu masuk ke dalam app cari kerja itu, memberi pekerjaan untuk orang ramai pada masa akan datang. Jadi itu salah satunya pertolongan yang kita boleh berikan dari segi lokal, dan pemerintah ada banyak wadah untuk mereka yang ingin mencari pekerjaan, terutama sekali di dalam situasi krisis kita hadapi sekarang.
Thank you, Mr. Andy.
Can I add something to what I said earlier about jobs at a local level? One of the areas that I look after in the Ministry of Trade and Industry is to help our heartland enterprises. I work closely with the Federation of Merchants Association of Singapore, and we have set up a Heartland Enterprise Centre supported by Enterprise Singapore. One of the things that I want to do is to try and see how we can rejuvenate and revive some of our heartland enterprises so that we have more competitive, more attractive heartland businesses. And while this is going to be good for the business owners, it will also be good for residents as consumers. This is also, I hope, a source of jobs at the local level. And especially for our mature and our older residents who may not want to travel so far to go to work, if there are good jobs in the neighborhood through our heartland enterprises, I think that's a win-win. It's good for the employers, they are able to access workers. It's good for our residents, our mature residents, our senior residents, because then they are able to find good jobs within the community. So this is something which I hope to be able to push for together with the Federation of Merchant Associations of Singapore and the Heartland Enterprise Centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chi. We have actually spoke about elderly, about jobs. What about vulnerable families? What are the initiatives or programs we have in mind for them?
This will be a key area of focus. And as my colleagues have shared, and in fact, all the agencies and all the predictions, when you ask the various agencies in terms of their projections, whether it's for the economy, whether it's for particular sectors, you really don't need their projections because you can see it before your eyes, as Mr. Cheong Tat says, from 80 million tourist arrivals to a handful is a significant drop, and there are knock-on effects. So we have to prepare for more families being under stress, disrupted job opportunities, reduce wages for some, and you have to help them. And there are various programs, but let me focus tonight on a promise that me and my colleagues feel very strongly about, and there's educational opportunities for these vulnerable families. It's an article of passion because all four of us, plus Ms. Gunn, come from humble backgrounds. And we know the power of education in uplifting. You teach somebody how to fish, and they know how to feed themselves as well as their families. And we have promised that no child in Bishan and Toa Payoh's education should suffer because they have financial problems. And if you know of anybody or you yourself have financial difficulties, come to us. We promise we will help. And one of our specific schemes for Bishan-Toa Payoh is called the Community Scholarship Program. And this is the good work started by my predecessor, Mr. Wong Kan Seng, 10 years ago, where he was able to persuade some of his friends who were benefactors, and they basically donated a sum of $2 million. Our grassroots added to that another 500,000, 2.5 million. And these are community scholarships that we give to residents of Bishan and Toa Payoh, tertiary scholarships, 500 to 5,000 per year. And it's meant to draw down over the 10 years. And over the 10 years, we've given out to 180 families for their children to go through ITE and polys and universities. Now, these are students who, over and above what they can get from government schemes. So this is specific to residents of Bishan and Toa Payoh. And I would say that that's been one of our signature programs, our commitment to make sure that no child suffers from educational missed opportunities. There are, of course, other schemes that you know about, but this is very special and very dear to us, and we will continue that program to make sure that more families benefit from it.
Thanks for sharing, Dr. Ng, such signature program, which I think many Bishan-Toa Payoh residents are not even aware of. Yeah, feels very blessed. What about Mr. Chong? There are some initiatives over at Bishan-Toa Payoh and even your division in which you have. What is it that you would like to share?
Yes, we do have some, Sylvia. So we have actually started a task force to look after the vulnerable families. We have several other task forces, such as task force to look after the elderly as well. So let me share a bit on this vulnerable task force. Just to share two programs. The first program I'd like to share is the caregiver support sessions. We have actually organized a few caregiver support sessions for our residents who are actually caregivers to their family members who have dementia or not physically well. As we all know, caregivers themselves are under a lot of stress. So these sessions bring caregivers together, share their stories, learn from each other, and also learn from each other how to cope with the stress. Yeah. So through these sharing sessions, I myself attended these sessions, and a lot of wonderful stories are shared, and there's a lot of learning opportunities for each other, and actually these sessions are pretty emotional too. So we intend to organize more such sessions for all for the residents to come together, to learn from each other, and also to know that there are many resources available for them to help them walk this journey. The most important is we want to let them know that they are not alone. We will walk this journey together with them. The other program I'd like to share is the Befriender program. We work with Tai Hwa Kwan Befriender program to bring friends to these elderly residents who are actually staying alone. So we are concerned that these elderly residents have no help, whether is it for their groceries or whether they are well or unwell. So we have worked with Tai Hwa Kwan for this program. But there's only so much they could do due to the resource constraint. As Dr. Ng said, this problem is going to get bigger. It's not going to get smaller. So we need to leverage on the community to help the community. So we intend to get volunteers, we intend to get trainers to train our own residents and even students within our community to be a befriender. So we enlarge the pool of this befriender so that they can help the increasing needs of these elderly residents.
Thank you, Mr. Chong.
Thank you.
Maybe I can add on as well to a variety of programs that Minister and Mr. Chong mentioned that runs across Bishan-Toa Payoh GRC. In Toa Payoh East, for example, we have this Quick Action Aid program, signature program in Toa Payoh East. Probably it's good to share it in terms of a narrative or story, why it came about. I was going for a block visit with residents in a particular block, met children running around under the block on the ground floor during a school day week. So I asked them, what are they doing? So they said they're not in school. Where are their parents? Their parents are not at home. Later on, when I investigated, I found out that the parents are incarcerated. So they have not been in school for almost half a year. So after we found out about that, we realized that there are circumstances of families who are vulnerable, especially children. In particular, all our MPs in previous term are very particular about children's development and the vulnerable families with children. And so in this case, we thought that there might be an urgent need to help them. And it includes providing financial assistance for the family in the short term, as well as a holistic sort of support for them in the short term until we could get longer term support and assistance that comes in from the government. So that sort of element is something that we try to add it in to help our vulnerable families, in particular when there are children involved as well. So some examples of some diverse programs that we have in Bishan-Toa Payoh GRC to help vulnerable families, in particular children, when children are involved as well.
Thank you. Mr. Andy, can you share some personal impression in your work with the elderly and the low income in Bishan-Toa Payoh? And what are your thoughts about these vulnerable communities moving forward?
Like I mentioned, yes. So we have a lot of, I think one element that probably my advisors other candidates can share is our experiences, our experiences with partners. I'll give you one example of this program, Class Mathematica at Bishan-Toa Payoh. It's a partnership with Mendaki and our MAEC, Malay Activity Education committees across the Bishan-Toa Payoh GRC team. We provide classes for parents to get involved in their children's studies, so that when parents get involved, it enhances their children's development, and also to get to know a bit more about math and science in a deeper way, and to enhance the children's educational experience. So this is partnering with Mendaki. Second, something unique that probably residents may not know is that MEAC, the Malay Activities Committee, has launched MEAC Cares across the GRC, and it's called MEAC Cares, typically to show a last mile sort of assistance or help to vulnerable families in a very targeted, focused way through MEAC level. So we also do that to actually make sure that there's closer collaboration between MEACs to help the Malay Muslim community when they are having difficulties as well. So we have that. I just want to share that residents may not know that, and that has been around for the past 3 years. And we hope to continue to do that, to continue to help the community going forward.
Well, let me share one aspect of these programs that we have. And that tells something about Singaporeans. They're very stoic. When we started the community scholarship program, we not only raised the funds, as I said, Mr. Wong Kan Sing kicked that off, but we had to assess applications for those people to make sure that we target the right people. And we had to have volunteers, and we have wonderful, passionate volunteers. Person, name of Mr. To Yong Chuan, who helps us interview these applicants. And it is quite sobering to find out that, superficially they look okay, they go to ITEs, polys or universities, and they don't tell you their problems. But when they apply and they explain what hardships they're going through, you realize people can fall through the cracks. And we want to make sure that if you can't seal up all the cracks, then you make sure that they're very, very small, and you can give support. So I think the lesson learned is that these schemes, you can't wave a magic wand and say, let's give aid to everyone. Unfortunately, it takes time, it takes resources, it takes commitment of volunteers using government schemes and our own schemes like we have in Bishan-Toa Payoh, and it takes effort. You have to prepare for it, you have to have good organization. That's why when I said I was very happy with this slate for Bishan-Toa Payoh, because as you heard Mr. Chee Hong Tat, he's working MTI, MOE, so he's ideally positioned to help for jobs and for skills. Mr. Andi has got financial experience, he's got networks. Mr. Chong Ki Hyong is from the business world as well, and he works with people from all walks of life. He's able to relate to them. And Ms. Gan Xiao Huang, as Mr. Chee Hong Tat says, this is a tripartite relationship, and Ms. Gan is with the NTUC now. So I think we have the wherewithal to be able to deal with this. It's huge problems, but we must face it with tenacity. We must give it our all to make sure that we can help as many people as we can.
Thank you, Dr. Ng.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on to say that in addition to academic, to help them with bursaries and academic, we also do not want this group of children from vulnerable families to miss out opportunity of non-academic curriculum. So we have this we have this Equal Start program. We work with businesses within our community to support this program. So we call it the Equal Start, to allow these children to have enrichment classes such as music, dancing, chess, and taekwondo. So so we would like to ensure that everyone has equal opportunities.
So maybe let me add a few words in Mandarin on some of the just reflections on our work with seniors. There's a phrase in Mandarin called 老吾老以及人之老. What it means is that you treat other people's elders as your own elders. So that's the philosophy that I use and my volunteers use when we look after our seniors. 我们把我们的年长居民当成我们自己的父母亲来照顾。我如果要我的父母亲过着健康充实的生活，同样的，我也希望我的居民能够过着健康充实的生活。要怎么样最好的照顾我们的年长者呢？像我刚才所说的，出发点呢要从年长者的角度，我们要从他们的角度来看问题。昂哥安迪要的是什么呢？他们要跟朋友保持联系，他们要独立，他们要有自由，他们要继续的学习，要有新的体验。所以其实我并不认为说很多人的看法说老人家不喜欢学新的东西，不喜欢有新的体验，其实是不正确的。我跟很多昂哥安迪的接触呢，我认为他们其实是很有兴趣去学习新的东西，但是呢，我们要帮助他们，给他们那个机会，同时呢，不要把那个门槛定得太高，因为他们要一步一步来，就是起初的时候可能不是很熟悉，好像对于科技方面，比如说，但是呢，一次生两次熟，久了，他们其实用起科技来说，其实也是没有问题的。所以我觉得昂哥安迪其实我们不应该认为说老人家就不学新的东西，因为有一句话说活到老学到老这句话呢，我觉得是很正确的。我们要鼓励呢我们的年长者继续的学习，因为他们有这样的学习机会，也是一种保持跟他人接触，或者是对自己的那个身心的健康 都有好处啊。所以在乐龄活动，还有就是乐龄学院，我们在提供不同的课程、不同的项目的时候呢，我觉得我们在这方面一定要继续的努力，问我们自己要怎么样做得更好，我们的昂格兰迪要的是什么，我们怎么样才能够更好的为他们提供更优质的服务，要怎么样能够帮助他们学习新的东西。之前我在这个通讯及新闻部的时候，我们就面对了一个就是经常听到的一个反馈，就是政府的这个跟人民的这个沟通呢，尤其是跟老人家的这个沟通，往往我们太过注重用那个英文跟英语，很多老人家其实对这个英文英语呢不是很熟悉，能不能够多用一点华语，多用甚至方言跟他们来沟通。所以我跟我的同事谈了之后呢，我们想，不如我们尝试一下用方言的这个连续剧这样的一个方式来跟我们的年长居民沟通，解释政府的政策。所以我们第一个项目呢，这个连续剧的名字叫《假爸爸》，我相信大家可能还记得，就是通过这样的一个方式，有趣的方式呢，一部分是给年长者就是有兴趣的去观看，同时呢跟他们解释一些怎么保持健康啦，怎么样更好的利用一些政府的一些政策啦，来改善他们的生活。这样里面那个歌词有一句话叫鼓励昂格兰迪要保持活跃的生活，活跃乐龄，就是说去学正会，学拍球，学拍电脑，爱活到老，学到老，嘛 steady， 欢欢喜喜 ，happy go lucky， 然后上重要你袂孤单，因为有我来陪伴，问一声你吃饱未？所以用福建话、用广东话，我们用老人家熟悉的语言跟他们沟通，我觉得更有效所以我们在各方面呢，我觉得我们的出发点一定要老人家、我们年长者，他们最需要的是什么？我们从那边做出发点谢谢。
Thank you, Mr. Chi. Whoa, we can see lots of questions streaming here at Facebook Live. Here's one question which is quite related to what Mr. Chi has touched on. Some seniors simply cannot learn to go digital. Can government don't push seniors so hard to go digital and high tech? Very stressful for seniors. What do you have to say?
I can start since I touched on that topic earlier. So as I was mentioning earlier in my Mandarin remarks, I don't think digital and technology is a silver bullet to solve all problems. It is a tool, it is an enabler, and this is also true not just for services that we provide to our citizens, to our seniors. It's also true when we encourage SMEs to go digital. My view is it cannot be let's go digital for the sake of going digital. It must be for a purpose, and that purpose is actually to help the enterprise to become more competitive. So likewise, when we provide services to our residents, it must be because we want to be more efficient, we want to be more effective in how we deliver this service to our residents. And by going digital, it opens up new ways to shortcut the waiting time, reduce the turnaround time, reduce the paperwork, the forms that need to fill. So there are some benefits. But at the same time, we understand not all residents are digitally enabled at this moment. And not just seniors, actually there are some vulnerable families too. They may not have broadband at home. We have to help them to apply, to have access to, they may not have equipment. We see this during circuit breaker, MOE when we did home-based learning, that you can see the difference between children who come from more privileged families, no problem having equipment and access, versus children who come from more vulnerable families. We have to do more to help them, to ensure that we work with sponsors, donors, make sure that they have access to the devices and also the broadband at home so that they won't lose out, so they can continue to learn while they're at home. So there are various things we need to be careful, paying attention to. My philosophy is always start from what problem are we trying to solve? And what needs do our stakeholders have? And then if we need technology solutions to come in to plug these gaps, let's do so. But always be very mindful that it is not just technology driven, but it is actually needs driven, human-centric, needs driven. I think you will have a better solution if you approach it that way.
There's another question which comes in. What ideas, plans do you have in mind to assist young families who must juggle the responsibility of a career, children, and taking care of the elderly? Are there any other childcare, elderly care initiative being pushed?
Well, we're going to have a whole session devoted to the needs for the youth and young families. So this is 打广告 and I didn't plan this, it just happened to see this question come up. But it will be, the next session we'll talk about physical infrastructure for our towns, as well as community building, community bonds. But subsequent to that, I think on Sunday, we will deal with this. So why don't we keep that to Sunday? Akan datang, just we will talk about this.
Thank you, residents and friends, for joining us at tonight's Facebook Live session with our PAP candidates of Bishan-Toa Payoh GRC. We have come to the end of tonight's dialogue session. Our PAP candidates will be launching their digital manifesto tomorrow on their respective Facebook, and a physical copy has been mailed to you, to your house. We have 2 of such more engaging sessions coming up in the days ahead, so please look out for it and do join us. Thank you and good night. Stay safe.